Japanese encephalitis.
Hello, my name is Hannah Hogru.
And I'm Olivia Driscoll.
What is Japanese encephalitis? It infects the nervous system as well as causing inflammation in the brain by the Japanese encephalitis virus. It is also known as JE, and it is most common in Asia. How does this virus spread? Well, Japanese encephalitis is spread through mosquitoes. First, an uninfected mosquito that does not have the virus will then contain the virus after being infected by a pig or an animal of such. The now infected mosquito will then bite a human that will transmit the virus onto the human. Here's the replication cycle of Japanese encephalitis. First, the viron will bind to a target toll-like receptor. Then the viron will go into cellular eating. Thus, the virus will escape the vesicle to avoid lysosome fusing. Then the viron RNA will then flow into the cytoplasm and reach into the rough ER, where then it will be translated into viral particles. Finally, the particles will then go into the Golgi apparatus to mature and spread throughout the rest of the body. And as you can see to the right, we have a lovely diagram that shows that all for you. Well, what symptoms would you experience while getting infected with this virus? First, you would get a fever. Then you'd experience headaches, vomiting, distortion, weakness, a coma, and maybe cause neurological diseases and seizures if you're a child. 99% of these individuals infected do not have symptoms, or they have mild symptoms. Well, who is prone to Japanese encephalitis? As the JEV spreads through mosquito bites, those who travel to rural areas are more prone to receiving them. This is because mosquitoes are bound to be by water captivity, farms, especially captivity of animals and pigs, rice farms, humidity in warm seasons, and tropical areas.
The infection rate of Japanese encephalitis. It cannot be spread from person to person unless it's through blood transfusion, but this is a very rare occurrence. What is the mortality rate of Japanese encephalitis like? In Asia, there are usually around 100,000 cases throughout the year, with a 30% chance of death. The graph to the right shows parts of Asia, including China, India, and Japan. If we were to say the entirety of the US were to be infected, there would be about a 340 million times 30%, and come out to find that 102 million people will pass away from getting infected with this disease. There is a vaccine for Japanese encephalitis. Exachero is the name for the vaccine. It is inactivated and absorbed. The inactivate vaccine contains the dead version of JE. It is approved for ages 2 months and older and is a popular vaccine for those traveling in exposed areas of mosquitoes. Exachero vaccine covers the strain of all Japanese encephalitis in adolescents, adults, and infants 2 months and older. In most cases, this vaccine is given in 2-dose series. From ages 18 to 65, may get the second dose 7 to 28 days apart. Children 2 months and adults over 65 may get the second dose 28 days after the first. A booster dose, a third shot, if individual continues to be exposed to the virus or continues to be at risk for getting the virus, like being in heavily exposed areas with mosquitoes. How does this vaccine interact with the immune system? We summarize this as the humoral system. The primary response will be exposed to the antigen, which in this case replaces the JEV. Thus, will bind to B lymphocyte receptor. The B cell will then activate and mature through the proliferin and form a clone. The now active B cell then differentiates while plasma and different cells form antibodies. Now the B cell will become a memory B cell. This will now be able to respond to the same antigen. In this case, the memory B cell will memorize the JE virus, making it easier for your immune system to fight off exposure to the virus. How much does this vaccine reduce your risk of death? Ixero, the vaccine, is around 91% effective in reducing death or other strong side effects.